The same person who had taken the briefcase earlier came back about midday, when the busy streets were being roasted by the sun. Although he was now driving the same gleaming vehicle, he wasn't in a hurry. He paused and grinned at Linda and Mia. He exited the car and said, "I'm King Jack. I would like to thank you for your honesty and loyalty." King Jack did not give them any additional funds, despite their expectant glances at one another, wondering if this would be the day it would ultimately get some more money. He brought them to a magnificent, enormous structure rather than, "This is for you," he said. The contents of the suitcase were worth more than the cash. "By keeping that bag, you saved my family. I want you to own this structure for your restaurant right now. It's all yours." Mia and Linda were stunned. They were unable to accept it. They had put in a lot of effort. It now seemed like a dream come true. Her eyes were full of grateful tears as they thanked him repeatedly with joyful hearts. They hopped into a cab right away and went in search of their father. They saw him in the market sipping a cool glass of kunu while standing next to his wheelbarrow. They approached him and hugged him without speaking. The two stunning young women hugged the unfortunate man, much to the astonishment of the onlookers in the marketplace. In disbelief, Mr. Sunday chuckled and shook his head. "Sit," he said, smiling warmly. "Let me buy you some kunu." They sat down with him, their excitement overflowing as they savored the refreshing beverage. "We have a surprise for you, Daddy," Linda said at last. Mr. Sunday inquired, "What is it?" He became more inquisitive. Curious as to what his kids had planned, he grinned. They stood up and motioned for him to follow them since they couldn't put their thrill into words. Immediately after them, Mr. Sunday got up and followed them. "It's ours, Daddy," Linda exclaimed joyfully as they approached the massive structure. "The man who misplaced his briefcase gave it to us. We should open our restaurant here," he remarked. Mr. Sunday was overcome with delight and started crying. He couldn't fathom what he was hearing. The restaurant, the new beginning, the prize for his daughter's honesty. He had always hoped for them to have this. They all stood in front of their new home and rejoiced together, the atmosphere filled with laughter and happiness. Mia and Linda spoke with their father that evening at home. They could see the effects of his years of labor in his face. "Dad, it's time for you to stop pushing the wheelbarrow," Mia said in a low but insistent voice. "You're not getting any younger," she stated, her tone full of affection. "This kind of hard labor is for younger men, not for you. We've got this now. You've given us everything we need to succeed, and now it's time for you to rest," Linda said with a nod of approval. Mr. Sunday started to speak as though he wanted to counter, but he could see the resolve in their eyes. Their remarks had a profound effect on him. They had put in a lot of effort and were now standing tall, free from the burden of relying on him. However, Sunday retired from his strenuous job that day out of great pride. King Jack did not merely give them the building. It was furnished with brand new chairs, tables, dishes, and pots. He had given them all they needed to run a successful restaurant. The girls worked hard to make the place perfect. Mia and Linda's eatery was busy. The mood was welcoming, warm, and elegant. Their friendly, patient, and sincere welcome, along with the delectable cuisine, were key factors in their success. Customers soon began to arrive, taking pleasure in the delectable cuisine and inviting atmosphere. The restaurant ceased to be a business. It was the realization of a dream through perseverance and hard work, a way out of poverty, and a sign of hope. And even more importantly, the women looked after their dad. He was no longer required to put in a lot of effort in the heat. They provided for him in ways he could never have imagined, treating him like royalty. He no longer needed to carry heavy loads with his weary, worn hands. Knowing that their sacrifices had brought them here, he spent his days savoring the benefits of their work. But Mia and Linda never forgot the people who assisted them on their journey. They recalled Mama Sarah, who had assisted them when they were infants. She had been a mainstay in their lives, even though she was now old and constantly ill. Mia and Linda did everything they could to make her life as pleasant as possible. Her small home was restored, making it comfortable and livable each month. They paid for her medical bills and made sure she never went without anything by sending her money. They loved their father just as much as they treated Mama Sarah with kindness. They understood the worth of thankfulness and made every effort to remember those who had supported them along the way. A woman came into the restaurant one afternoon looking exhausted and disoriented. "What do you want?" one of the female employees inquired, her tone full of wonder. With hope in her eyes, The woman glanced upward. I'm trying to find work. Noticing the despair in her voice, the woman led her over to Mia and Linda. I can do anything, the lady begged. Clean the dishes, mop the floor, and serve the food. All I need is a job. Even though there was no vacancy for a new employee, Mia and Linda couldn't help but feel drawn to the woman. They chose to give her a shot despite not being able to explain it. She was given the task of washing dishes. This lady was Mirabelle, their mother, but they didn't know it. She was left with nothing after 3 unsuccessful marriages to wealthy men. She had been used and had used back at square one. However, this time she appeared to be out of options. The following day, Mr. Sunday went to see his girls. He entered the kitchen and saw Mirabelle there after a warm greeting. As she hadn't seen him, he retreated silently, his heart laden with recollections. With a low voice that hinted at a somber seriousness, he located his daughters and placed them on the floor. Do you have a new dishwasher? Mia responded, Yes, Daddy. Do you know her? They both asked, looking perplexed. But why are you asking about her? That woman is Mirabelle, your mother, he said, carefully and slowly. Linda's eyes widened in disbelief. Huh? Our mom? Indeed. Your mother is she. I burned every image of her after she departed. The recollections were too upsetting. Thus, you have never seen her face. They all entered the kitchen. Mirabelle's face lost all color, and she froze, speechless. When she saw Mr. Sunday standing there, with a deep breath, Mr. Sunday turned to Mirabelle, his voice firm but full of sentiment. Your daughters are the women who hired you. I am so sorry, my daughters, Mirabelle said, her lips quivering and her face pale. As she lowered her head in remorse, she whispered the words in soft sobs that were hardly audible. A storm of emotion gathered in Mia's eyes as her face hardened. You have to leave, she stated forcefully. She grabbed a handful of money from the counter and handed it to Mirabelle. You've worked for more than this. Go somewhere. You aren't my mother and I don't know you. The stranger is not my mother. Rather, my mother is Mama Sarah. Although her tone wavered towards the conclusion, she was still enraged. Silently observing the events, Linda hugged her sister close. I know, she said. Mia, you're suffering. And so am I, she said gently, her voice full of sympathy. But please don't send her away. Right now, no. She needs our assistance. Mia's expression contorted with sadness, and her tears began to flow uncontrollably. She said softly, I don't want to help. After that, she shouted while pointing towards Mirabelle. This woman abandoned us. We were left to fend for ourselves as she went on her way. She abandoned us and our father to endure and pass away. The anguish in her voice was palpable. Her heart's truth is ultimately revealed. Her sobs were loud and agonizing, reverberating throughout the space. The tears appeared to be unending. However, as the feelings started to pour out, she gradually became less anxious. Although only for a little moment, Mirabelle, shaking, extended her hand to them as the weight of her sorrow lessened. Her voice was full of remorse. My apologies, my girls. I apologize. I was a selfish, foolish, and youthful person. I'm sorry. Please. Mr. Sunday sat down with his daughters that evening, his face marked with a silent sorrow. The subsequent discussion was difficult. Despite the high level of tension in the air, they eventually had a change of heart. Even though it wasn't simple, they pardoned Mirabelle. Determination. Mia and Linda chose to give Mirabelle a different position in the restaurant the following day. They couldn't stand the idea of her still doing dishes. As the matron in charge of the activities, she would be in a position to demonstrate her accountability and respect. At first, Mirabelle appeared to be the epitome of the friendliness the restaurant required. She didn't bother the employees, and her kind demeanor appeared to win over the patrons. But as time went on, things started to shift. Mirabelle became enraged. Her only gentle voice turned firm and dominating. She started to harass the employees, becoming irritable over minor errors, and her demeanor became as sour as rotten food. The restaurant's ambience was charged. The change in her attitude was noticed by customers, and workers began to stay away from her. The restaurant's clientele started to decline gradually, similar to a slow leak in a boat. The warmth and delight that had once filled the space was replaced by a sense of anxiety. Mia and Linda saw a difference, but they were unsure of how to resolve it. It appeared that the company they had put in so much effort for was going between their fingers. One night, Mia and Linda sat their mother down, their faces somber and worried. They needed to speak with her about her conduct in the hopes that she would pay attention, but Mirabelle's defiance was obvious when she spoke. I am your mother, she retorted. her voice icy. I brought you into this world. You can't tell me what to do. Mia, feeling the sting, remained calm as she tried to follow her mother's instructions. Your attitude is ruining all of our efforts, yet you are here to support us. Mirabelle's eyes narrowed as she asked, where is your father, the one you constantly give money to? He's just sitting around at home, and you give him everything. However, all you provide me is my paycheck. Mia's face turned dark with rage. I will have a problem with you if you ever talk badly about my father again, she said sternly. However, Mirabelle was not finished. She replied, her voice dripping with animosity. You don't love me. All you're doing is controlling me. The discussion soon became a contentious argument with neither party prepared to budge. At last, worn out and disappointed after the stressful encounter, Mia and Linda approached their father. Mr. Sunday patiently listened before speaking, his voice laden with life experience. Your mother, though, remains your mother. She will, however, ruin all of your hard work if you let her stay in the restaurant. Mia and Linda reached a conclusion following considerable deliberation. The following day, they informed Mirabelle that she would no longer be employed in a restaurant. She responded quickly and angrily. I know it's your stupid father who poisons your minds against me, she screamed, her voice trembling with rage. Despite the offense, Mia and Linda remained strong. They saw her mother leave in a rage, her harsh words still ringing in the air. Even though it hurts, even though their mother had gone, the twins didn't abandon her. In front of her house, they set up a little store so that she may run it on her own. While it wasn't the perfect answer, it was still something. Despite being upset by all that had transpired, Mr. Sunday remained upbeat. Continued to yearn for the past when things were better. He desired to erase the past and reunite Mirabelle with their family as his spouse. However, he was unable to accept the suffering Mirabelle had inflicted upon him, as her actions had gone too far. The restaurant, on the other hand, prospered. The atmosphere was now that Mirabelle was no longer there. Business flourished and improved. The excellent cuisine and warm hospitality were the subject of word-of-mouth advertising. The restaurant quickly started to succeed in a way it never had before. Opening up new locations and cities throughout Nigeria, Mia and Linda grew. Their commitment and effort had paid off, and at last, they were witnessing the results of their efforts. However, it wasn't only the money they had made. They had discovered peace. They were pleased with their father. The restaurant was once more the center of their success, free from their mother's harmful presence. Money was no longer an issue at this point. They discussed their goal of becoming medical professionals as soon as it ceased to be an issue. With a tone that was gentle but confident, Linda began. I don't have the fire inside me anymore. I have a strong affection for my work. She had a profound sense of pride as she observed the bustling clientele and personnel in the restaurant. Their aspiration of being doctors, which had once been a dream, now seemed far off and nearly irrelevant in comparison to the pleasure and meaning they discovered in their jobs. Mia gave a warm grin as she nodded in agreement. This business is a response to our father's prayers to God. I, too, do not want to be no longer a doctor. I adore this line of work. Her eyes twinkle with passion, not for a job in medicine, but for the successful company they had created, where they could continue to help others in a different manner. They had a peaceful time together, with their hearts at peace with the course they had selected. Their enthusiasm for their business had taken the place of the ambition that had formerly shone from the field of medicine, and they realized they had discovered their real calling. Mia and Linda began to attract suitors as time went on, and both of them were eager to get started the beginning of a new phase of their lives. The thrill of organizing their weddings was palpable, and the twins chose to have it on the same day, which they would share with their new spouses. But leaving their father alone worried them. After some deliberation, the girls made the decision to handle the situation. One afternoon, they approached their father with a mix of trepidation and resolve. Mia spoke softly at first. Although we are aware that you are pleased with our marriage, Father, we are worried about your continued solitude. Not all women are like our mother, and we think there are some decent ladies out there. Linda continued her sister's train of thought. Daddy, we've located a lovely lady for you. Mr. Sunday's expression grew softer as he gazed at his daughters. Linda grinned, certain of their choice. Who is she? She has a job at one of our establishments. She has been really helpful to us, and sometimes we even ask her for guidance on certain matters. She has 2 kids, and her husband died. If you marry her, We will treat her children as our younger siblings and see that they receive a decent education. Sunday was caught off guard for a minute. He was unsure of what to say. He nodded gently after a lengthy silence. I need time to consider things. He eventually agreed after giving it some thought for 2 days. He found that the woman they had spoken so well of, Madame Joy, was sincere and compassionate after speaking with her. He agreed to marry her, feeling at ease with his choice. Mia and Linda's wedding was planned to coincide with it. The church was overflowing with happiness and love on that terrible day as Mr. Sunday, Mia, and Linda all tied the knot. Mama Sarah, who had been a mother figure to them all, stood tall as the day's chief mother, representing the love and togetherness of their family. The day marked a fresh start for everyone, including the girl's father. Thank you for watching, and may God bless you.